Hi, y'all. Obviously, my name is Nilah. I'm a little nervous, so please bear with me. But I'm 20 years old. Like I said, I just moved into my first house, and Chair-ity furnished my house on Monday, so it's a little bit about me. I entered the foster care system when I was 12 years old. My parents did not get along. They were in a very abusive relationship, and despite all of this, I was a straight A student until his abuse poured onto me and I started acting out. I just want to say one thing to everybody in here. Young adult, child, older person, if somebody is doing really good and something just happens and spiral, please ask them what's wrong. It might not be a phase, it might be something that they're just battling internally, so don't take that with a grain of salt, please. But back to my story. My parents thought I was just, like I said, going through a phase or too much, and then I entered the foster care system. So while I was in the foster care system, I was in 4 different residential placements, some in Cincinnati, some in Akron. And as I changed residential placements, they would place me in either a foster home or a group home, jumping between Canton, Cleveland, Mansfield, Lima, and Youngstown. For 6 years, I was constantly moving, never knowing when I would leave or where I would go next. These placements where I was supposed to be getting help were the complete opposite. I left them worse off than when I came in. It was just more adults not listening and understanding. I had a really great caseworker who wanted the best for me, but then she got promoted. She's a judge now, by the way. She's doing really good. And I was appointed a caseworker who was the opposite of her. I would ask him to get in touch with my mother or father, and it would take him months to get a number. And then when he did get a number, I would reach out to my parents, and they would purposefully change their numbers. I sat in these placements with no home visits, no new clothes, and no support. While this whole experience was really rough, it did give me access to my guardian ad litem, who was the first person who ever asked and who I ever told about my abuse. She was also the only person who came to visit me in residential care. She would reach out to my parents and ask them to go with her, but they never did. So finally, I aged out of the system at 18, but my social worker threw in his rag, and I have not heard from him since. I didn't even get a happy birthday, y'all. It was bad. But since I was 18, I was no longer anybody's problems. I wasn't able to get a job. I didn't have a social security card. I didn't have a birth certificate. I didn't know the ins and outs of adulthood because I didn't have anyone to teach me that. I was left to fend for myself, freshly 18. Now, 2 years later, I am 20, and I was talking with a friend that I made in foster care, and she told me about Bridges, a program that helps former foster kids. And it's a federal program. They provide former foster kids with schooling, finances, finding a job, things of that sort. Everything you would need at 18, starting off on your own. My social worker should have told me about it, but he didn't, so I was navigating all of this by myself. Bridges ends at 21, so I have under a year left with them. But they connected me to good services, which one of them was Chair-ity, who, like I said, delivered my furniture on Monday. My favorite things we received were my baby's cribs because they are really expensive. And with us trying to build a stable life, just moving into a house and all of this stuff, we really needed that. It removed the burden off of us. Oh, and listen, y'all, it is a 5-in-1 convertible, okay? And it goes into a couch. I don't feel like people talk about that. It goes into a couch, but it's really nice. And like I said, I'm also thankful for my dressers because kids in foster care, they do live out of bags and baskets. So all of the furniture that I receive fits perfectly in my house, like it was meant to be there. And then my auntie came over and she loved it. And she asked where I got it from, and I said Chair-ity. But she can't use it because she's 60 and I'm 20. But thank you all for supporting this organization that turned my house into a home, and I really appreciate it. And thank you for listening to me. I appreciate that as well.